few things I need to tell you before we get going, and my reasoning behind why we're going to do things the way that we're going to do them. And we're only going to do it quite slowly. I say that ish. We're going to do it bit by bit. It will be lovely, Mel. It'll be absolutely amazing. So, the book itself, as you know, is covered in this linen, paper-backed linen. That's a Beatles song, isn't it? Paper-backed linen. Anyway, something like that. Mine's got cat hair on it. It's lovely. So this is like linen fabric, but it's got paper on the back. It's proper bookbinder stuff. But obviously we need to glue it onto the book, and to do that, we're going to have to use glue. Now, I have always wanted to make a book with this on. Always. I hadn't got a clue how to use it or what to do, so I watched and I learnt, and I tried. And the thing that I learnt is we have to use thick chipboard, which is why if you... Yes. Oh, do you know, Sue, I love the Beatles. Which is why if you're surprised at the thickness of the chipboard in your kit, that's the reason why. It's the super thick 2mm chipboard, because I tried it on thinner chipboard and it just warped. It's a pain to cut this, but that is the reason why it is so thick. But to be honest with you, you can't really, I don't think it spoils the book at all. If you look at it, it doesn't look, you know, overly thick, but it will warp if you don't use the thick stuff. So that's my reasoning behind that. The other thing that I will say to you, now I know I say this to you every time, but what I want to do tonight is I want to cut out and do the cover, and I want to make sure that we get our linen on, at least. I'm hoping that we're going to have time to do the hinges as well for inside, but when we make a book, I always say don't fold it until it's dry. Leave it overnight minimum. There is a reason for this, and I'm going to show you what the reason was. I didn't listen to my own advice. I was too chuffed to bits with the linen on my book, and I just thought, this is great, I'm going to fold it. This is what happens. Now, you can't see this in the photos, but I am going to show you. It has split down there. And that is because I didn't follow my own advice. So when I tell you tonight, leave your book flat to dry, I mean leave your book flat to dry. Otherwise you will end up with something like that. Okay, so I need to listen to my own advice, really. So just so you know, I don't say these things in vain. There is good reason for it. So, I'm just trying to think. Right, so yeah, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to cut out the covers. We are going to cover with our linen, and we are going to hopefully make the hinges to start with. So if we want to get on with that, we might as well do that now. So the first thing that I want you to do is cut out your chipboard. Let me just put that to one side. I've actually remembered to get a thingy tonight, a mat. But I'm going to draw this out because when it's really thick chipboard, it can move when you're cutting it, and I just think if you've got, you know, you can actually see what you're cutting, it does make a difference. So I'm just listening. Hang on, I'm just reading what Sue's got to say about the Beatles. No way! Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Oh wow. Jealous. Wow. Okay, right, so we're going to make our cover, and I've forgotten already what size it is, and I've lost my cutting guide. It is not, let me just check this, because I've started to panic that I don't get my sizes right. Yeah, 9.5 by 6 3/4. So 9.5. And on this one as well, I'm going to cut my hinge, my spine. So I'm going to cut that at 1.5 there as well. So, what did I say? 9.5
by 6 3/4.
By 6 3/4. Okay, so this is the length of it. And then I'm going to cut my spine as well. Oh, by 6 3/4. Now, if you've made a book with me before using really thick chipboard or any sort of chipboard, when you're cutting it by hand, because this is too thick to go through your trimmer, I'm just telling you, 2 millimeters is too thick. I've tried it and it doesn't work, and it'll wreck your trimmer. We can end up with really sore wrists because of trying to cut, trying to cut such a thick piece of chipboard. So here are my tips. Number 1, evening Alison, evening Michelle. Oh, repeat the sizes, Catherine. It is 9.5 by 6 3/4. And then your spine is 1.5 by 6 3/4. Okay, so when cutting, I have got a couple of tips for you. Number 1, new blade. Super important, will make all the difference. Number 2, get the husband to do it. Well, yeah, there is that. That is a good one, actually. Yeah, use a safety ruler. And actually, on this occasion, I'm not going to scare Mark because it really does make a difference. Now, when you're cutting, make sure that you hold your knife fairly solidly, firmly, that's the word I want. But this is a case where little and often is the way. So don't feel that you've got to get in there and press it down and pull it, because you are going to end up with sore hands and a sore wrist, and you don't want to do that. So don't press too hard. Don't try and get it done all in one go. This is going to take a few strokes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut with my knife, and I'm going to keep going backwards and forwards however many times it takes. To cut through. So that was quite a few times, but I don't have a sore hand and I don't have a sore wrist. Linda, do not fret, dear. Oh, 8.5. Now, you can stick it. Okay, tip. If you cut, either I can give you another piece of chipboard, or, evening Margaret, evening Kirsten, I can either give you another piece of chipboard, or you can kind of glue it together, or use a bit of your tyvek to stick it together. But when we come to put the tyvek on, you'll notice that we're going to do it back to front, because it will show through. So if you've got if you stuck it together, it's going to show through the linen, okay? But if you do it, so if you've cut it wrong and you're going to add a bit, so long as this bit's like the bit that you're sticking together is going to be under here, you won't see it. But if you want to hang on, I can always give you another piece of chipboard, whichever. But if you've cut it wrong and you've got to add it, make sure that when you put your spine and bits together, that the bit that you've added is here, so that it's not going to see, because this is like it's kind of unforgiving. You can see through it. So we're going to put tyvek on the wrong side just to confuse matters completely. Okay. Right. So right, a bit of rubbish. Okay, so that's my spine and part of my cover, and now I'm going to just cut. I just need to cut a cover out of this. So, what did I say? I've forgotten already. You think I'd know? 6 3/4 by 9.5. 6 3/4. do you want an Anthony update? I think he's still around. I had to go to proper work this morning, and I think he was in the neighbour's garden, but he's definitely still about because he's quite unique in the way that he calls, and you can definitely still hear him. So he's still about, and his parents were in the front garden earlier. Well, I'm presuming they're his parents. The only magpies I know. I think we've only got one pair around here, haven't we?
Sounds about like 50.
Well, yeah, they are noisy. Okay, right. There we go. One book cover cut out, and no sore arms, no sore hands. All right, so that's our cover. Just make sure I've cut it right. Oh, near enough. Right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my piece of tyvek. And I am going to cut my tyvek at 6 3/4 by 4. Oh, sorry guys. I'm going to get all seasick now. 4.5 by 6 3/4 inches. Okay. So get some glue. I'm not going to tell you about tyvek because, you know, we all know what tyvek's for, don't we?
And how terrible.
Yeah, and how unterrible it is. I'm not going to practice that again, show you. But we all know that it doesn't tear. And how good it is for keeping. Every week this happens.
What?
My glue's all stuck up.
You left the lid off.
I did. I never put the lid on. Oh, I've just hit Storm over the head with some paper. Right, so put some glue onto the spine of your chipboard and lie it right in the middle of your piece of tyvek, like that. You do not have to be exact. We're not worried. I'm not ripping it, Dee. I've done that once already.
The only person in the world to make.
Shall I give it a go? I want to see if I can do it again. What the heck? My God, I am Superwoman. Either that or this is Duff Tyvek. Do you think this is Duff Tyvek? Anyway,
No, it was strong.
I'm just really strong. It'll do for our purposes. So what we've got here, oops, is our spine on the tyvek. Now I've left my mat out because you do know how tyvek works, Wendy, not the way I use it. I've lined it up so that it's straight on the bottom. You see, I've used one of the lines down here to line this up. Can you see what I'm guessing? You can see what I've done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my cover on, but if I put some glue onto my tyvek, oh, not very well because I'm left-handed and I don't do right-handed, and it's anyway. Right.
Say tyvek.
Huh?
Tyvek.
Why? D, why? Do you say it am I not saying it right?
Or does it remind you of the incident?
I want the second incident. Okay, what I want you to do is I want you to lie your cover on. Make sure that it's straight. That's why I like these lines. But I need you to leave a gap. That's about... Nah, it's not 2/8 of an inch this time. It's about 1/8 of an inch. There or thereabouts. Okay? And I want you to do the same. Why is that green?
What's green?
No, why have I got a green blob in the middle of my tyvek? I don't know either. Right, so I've got some glue on the other side of the tyvek, and I'm going to get my other bit and line it all up with that gap there.
That come out your glue, didn't it? That blob?
You what?
Didn't it come out your glue, that?
I don't know what's... No, it was already there. Is it me? I've got green on me. Where's that come from? Oh well, never mind. Right, okay. So, when we actually come to put our cover on, we're actually going to do it this way round. I know that's a little bit odd, but we're going to have the tyvek on the inside this time, because otherwise it will slightly show there. Now, right, I need to clean my hands because this is going to go all over my linen. Right, so what I need to do now is attach the linen, okay. So I've got quite a long piece here, and when you're putting it on, make sure that it's kind of vaguely straight, the weave, because it was really odd, wasn't it? We had a massive piece, and when Mark was cutting it up, because I can't do stuff like that, it just goes to pot. It kind of, it's not quite straight. I mean, it kind of was, but it wasn't. So you might have to just slightly move it. So right, here we go. Now you're gonna have to work quickly. You've got two choices here. You can either prime this first. Yeah, all right, recommended, but you know, do as I say, don't do as I do. Because if you're going to use tape, you can use tape to do this, but you cannot leave any gaps at all because the gaps show through. So use like really wide tape and just, you know, keep it all the way down. Or you can just use loads of glue. But you've got to work quick, and it's hot in here, so I'm actually a bit worried about how quickly I can do this. So I'm going to put lots of glue.
What would you prime it with?
Well, you could just prime it with the glue. You could just actually just do this and just leave it to dry for a bit, and then put some more on top.
And then it won't dry so fast.
Or you could use gesso. We talked about using gesso, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was an option, but I haven't tried it, so I don't know. But I would be inclined, if you're going to prime it with the glue and let it dry. See, this is drying already. Okay, right, so, I'm going to get sticky. Right, I'm just going to turn that over a minute. Right, I'm going to get my linen, and I'm putting it linen side down, paper side up. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my book cover in the middle of it. Okay, and stick that down. Now I'm going to get my bone folder, and I am going to make sure that I have got rid of any air pockets, anything like that. And that I have got a really good, smooth, oh, I haven't there. I've got a really good, smooth.
As I said, I think you have some greyboard on your glue.
It's everywhere. And considering I don't like getting sticky, I don't know why I'm doing this. All right, so I'm just going to use bone folder just to get it nice and smooth. Okay, I'm happy with that. And now I've glued it to my board. Right, okay, so let's get rid of that. Oh, it's so sticky. I need some wipes. I had some. Oh, Mark,
What?
I need some wipes. I did have some. Or something. Sorry, dear.
Yeah, I know this cloth.
Yeah, that'll do. I did have some. Thank you.
Of course, they're on the table somewhere.
I know, somewhere. Right, there we go. Okay, right. So, now, like we do with any other sort of paper, we need to fold and cover the ends. Make sure they're taut. So,
everyone is a lot slower at doing it than you do.
That's fine. Oh, good. Do you want me to stop? Hi, Liz.
I don't mind you having a pause.
It's linen cloth, Gloria, on a paper backing. It's proper bookbinding cloth. It's not, sadly, it's not self-adhesive, which would be great if it was, but it's not. So I'm just going to trim down that edge because we don't need all of that. Oh, God, talk about not straight. Right, I don't know how well you can see this. This is a cloth. If you looked at this, you'd think it was like a linen. It's quite a tight weave, but also quite loose, if that makes sense. But it's paper on the back. It's totally paper, which is what makes it so easy to stick to, you know, to the card. In fact, don't be scared of it, ladies, because you're going to find it's a whole lot easier to work with than you think. Because I've done all the trial and error. I can tell you that you need to put glue on. You need to make sure that it's thick board. You know, I've tried all this and found out what worked and what didn't. So, you know, I know it's not really, really hard to do. I think, Terry, using linen textured paper would work really, really well. I've spoken to a couple of other people about that as well, and I think it would work. You could use linen fabric, absolutely, but I don't know how well that would... I don't know the best way that you would stick it on your book, because you could do it like this, but I would be concerned that if you're going to use wet glue, it's going to show through somehow. That would worry me. I don't know, because I've not tried it. However, I do think if you're using linen cloth, if you use a double-sided tape and make sure that there are absolutely no gaps between your tape as you go along, I think that would work. I think that would work quite well, to be honest with you, if you can't get the paper-backed linen. Now, I mean, for those of you, you know, who are not in the UK, this stuff isn't that easy. Well, actually, it's not that easy to find if you're in the UK, to be truthful. You need to find some sort of special bookbinding wholesaler, or you know, business that will sell it. There are various little places like you can buy it on eBay. The first piece I ever bought, I bought off eBay. You know, so just look for bookbinding linen or paperback linen, and if you know, if you might find it there. I know lots of people have been looking on Amazon, and we haven't really found a solution. But I know certainly in the UK, for small pieces, because you can get it in a million different colours. Then you know, eBay was quite good, actually, to be honest with you. What? Sorry, darling.
You sell it.
Do I sell it?
You sell it.
I sell it.
Well, you've got some.
Well, I have got some, yes. So if people do want pieces to make this, I do have some, but it's a bit of a nightmare to send because I don't want to fold it, to be honest. Yeah, Rizwana, I think you're right. I think that would work really well. Something like an A4 sheet of double-sided tape or something along those lines. I've got some very wide double-sided tape in the shop, actually, Mark. There's that one that's nearly 2 inches wide. Yeah. That, if you want to put a link up to that, that might work. But I would just be really cautious about using glue on non-paperback linen. Right, so I am now... Oh, by the way, this will warp a little bit. Don't worry about it. Once it's dry, it'll be fine. Oh, Sandy, yes. Tim Holt's canvas would work a treat. So I'm just going to mitre this corner a little bit. We'll worry about making the corners super flat later. And I'm going to now do this in exactly the same way as we do every book, except I've lost my tape. Oh, here it is. It was nearer than I thought. So, you know, when we're making a book, a normal book, all I do is I put a little bit of double-sided tape. I'm probably off camera now. I just don't want to fold it too much. A little bit of double-sided tape. Oh, for goodness sake. And some glue. Oh, where's my pokey stick? And I'm going to fold that over. This is actually a lot easier to work with than paper because we don't have to train it in the same way. Okay, but just make sure that it's folded over and you've still got a nice straight edge there. Look at that appalling cutting on my part. Terrible. Oh, and be careful what you've got underneath it because this is light coloured stuff and it will mark. Trust me. So things like pens and ink pads and stuff. Yes, I speak from experience. Yeah, cats. Yeah, but you can rub those off. Right. So I'm just mitering the corner just like we do on every book. I'm going to put a little bit of tape just to hold it in place while it dries because it doesn't really have much use other than that. And then I'm going to fold it over and glue it. Now I can see my book is starting to warp. Don't worry. It will dry just fine. Okay. Right, so there you go. You can see that starting to come together on that side. I've got my edges done. And now I want to do the inside. So, getting these corners right, okay? Previously, when we've used paper, what we've done is we've cut little bits off and folded it over. We need this as least bulky as possible. So I'm going to tell you to do something now that I never want you to do when we're using paper, but it worked quite well. I can see where the edge of my chipboard is, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut from the edge of the chipboard directly up like that. Okay, and I'm just going to chop that little bit off there. Okay, so when we fold that over, and because it's paperback linen, it's not going to fray or tear like tyvek. So that on this occasion, doing a corner like that will work just fine. So if you can see here, what I've done, I'll do it on this one as well, is here's the corner. I'm just going to cut.
It's not on screen.
Oh no, there we go. It's all right. For some reason, this whole thing's moved, and I'm having to duck to get stuff on. So it's going to cut it up to that corner, and I'm just going to nip that little bit off there. Okay. I've lost all the hang on. I've lost all comments. Oh, I've lost loads of comments. Right. Okay. Shall I do it again? Right, so you can see here where we've folded this. Trouble is it's light. You can't see terribly well. Right, so there's the corner of my chipboard. And I'm just gonna cut it straight up like that. And I'm gonna cut off this little lip piece here. Okay, so that's now straight to there. Okay, and I'll do it again on this side. I'm going to cut that down to the corner. And I'm going to just snip off that bit there. Okay? Right. Now we can get on and just fold it over. So, put a piece of double-sided tape down there. some glue. Start in the middle. Fold it over there. And then just make sure that you're pulling it down and into that corner. Okay, and then if it's not lying quite flat, just use your bone folder just to flatten that out. And I'll pick this up and show you in a minute what it looks like. Okay, so here's my corner. You can see there that it's mitered. We are going to cover this so it doesn't have to be too pretty. But that's just, I think that's, you've got no bulk there. And that is kind of the best way to, you know, we don't want it bulky. And that was the best way that I found to do that. So yeah, if you're in the UK and you want some of this specific stuff, I have got some in stock still. So drop me a line and I can pop that in the post to you. But yeah, if you want a different colour or you're in another country, then have a look and see. I found eBay really great to start with, but I'm sad because I bought in bulk. I bought from a wholesaler. If people, I mean, if this is something that you want to do, you decide that when you're making books, you really, really, really want to use this linen, which I must admit, I've quite fallen for the look of it, I have to say. If you want different colours and stuff, I am quite happy to stock it. So just let me know what you think. It's not a problem for me to get more, you know, different colours or finishes. Because obviously sometimes you end up buying an awful lot more than you really want. And I'm quite happy to stock it, but just let me know what you think. Hi, Gwen. Right, glue. Okay, so I'm going to start in the middle and just fold that over. And just pull it. And stick that down. Oh, cut that a bit too short, not too clever. Okay. Right, well I didn't do that very well on that corner, but we'll just ignore that for now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that to one side and I'm going to leave it until next week before I fold it. Even though it's a bit floppy, don't get all excited and think you can fold it, because you can't yet. Okay, don't. Trust me on this one. Right, so put that to one side to dry. Right, shall we do... Oh, what a mess. Shall we do our hinges? Should we get those done? Because they're always a nightmare to do, aren't they? If you haven't done them before. Right, okay, so trimmers, please. And a piece of your cardstock. So if you've had one of my kits, it will be white. Who was doing it in lavender? Was it Diana? I'm looking forward to seeing that very, very much. Right. Okay, piece of white card. And I want you to cut this at 6.5 by 8 3/4 inches. Okay, so you've got a piece like that. So pop that to one side. And now you're going to need your scoreboard. So we are going to score, which I've forgotten to put on the cutting guide, but we're going to score on the 8 3/4 inch side. So that means that you're going to put the 8 3/4 inch side at the top. Okay. So, right. First score line, 2 inches. Second score line, 2.5 inches. Basically what we're doing is we're making 1/2 inch hinges and 1/4 inch gussets. So next score, 3 inches. Next score, 3.25 inches, 3.25 inches. Next score, 3 3/4 inches. And then 4.25 inches. Next score line is 4.5 inches. So we've got our 1/4 inch gusset there. And then I want you to score at 5 inches, 5.5 inches, 5 3/4 inches, 6.25 inches, and 6 3/4 inches. So what you've got here is 3/4 inch gussets and 4 1/2 inch hinges. Okay, can you see that? I know it's difficult on the white. That might show better. So you've got your 3/4 inch gussets and 1/2 inch hinge. Right, has anybody not made these before?
Me?
Do you enjoy fussy cutting though, Lisa? That's the question. I used to hate it. I can't tell you how much I used to hate it. But I kind of tolerate it now because I like the effect that it gives you. They are smaller gussets than usual, Liz. You're quite right. Oh, Catherine, first time Catherine's made hinges. Excellent, that's what I like to hear. Okay, Anne, right. Now, these are nothing to be scared of. They're easier than you think. It's all in the folding, and I have some difficulty explaining it, so I'd rather show you. So, where we've got our 1/2 inch score marks, those are going to become our hinges. The 1/4 inch is the bit between the hinge. So, if I show you on my book, you can see here we've got 4 pages, and each page has a 1/4 inch gusset. These 2 inches at either side, I like to call those the wings, and that's what we use to anchor, to help anchor the hinges to our book. So the hinges fit inside our pages here, and they're going to be 1/2 inch tall. Okay, so let me show you. I've got a score mark here, one there, and then there before we get to the gusset. That middle score mark has to be what we call a mountain fold, so it's probably best to start with that one. I'm just going to fold that, and then I'm going to fold that one back like a concertina.
Can you put it closer to the camera?
Hang on. Right, so what we've got here is, this is our first set of score marks, okay? So we've got our 1/2 inch ones and then the 1/4 inch which goes to the gusset. So the way that I folded it, this bit here in the middle is our mountain fold, and these are what we call valley folds. But when we glue this together, what that's going to make is our hinge, like that. And it's our hinge that is going to fit inside our page and anchor our page to the book. Okay? So what we need to do now is fold our other 4 hinges. So here, this is my gusset, and then I've got those 2 1/2 inch folds there, scores there. If I just quickly fold that one in the middle, I'm going to find it a whole lot easier. Hold on. To fold that. And then fold that down. So what I've got now is I've got 2 hinges, which we'll glue them together in a minute. So I've got 2 hinges and I've got my gusset. Okay? And we're going to keep carrying on. So I've got my mountain fold, which is the top of my hinge. Once you've done this once, you'll never forget. It's like riding a bike. It's just that first bit trying to get it right. So now I've got 3 hinges that I've folded. So I've got hinge number 1 and my gusset, hinge number 2 and my gusset, hinge number 3, and in a minute, when I fold that last hinge like that, I've now got 4 hinges and 3 gussets. Okay, are we cool with that? That all makes sense. So when we've got our 1/2 inch score, those are going to glue together so that we can make that into a hinge. So there we go. Once it glues together, it'll be better. Okay, we good? Right. Now we need to stick them together. We need to burnish them. That's very important. But I find it sometimes it's a bit easier to glue it first. So I'm just going to open that up a little bit. This is the back. This is the back now. And what I do is I pop a little bit of double-sided tape inside my hinge, inside this bit here, just to hold it together while it dries, and then I'd put wet glue on. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to put a little bit, because it doesn't need a lot, it's just to hold it in place, and it doesn't have to be nice and tidy. I'm just going to put a little bit of double-sided tape inside each hinge. Okay, and now I'm going to put some wet glue on. Let me just, oh, not that one. Where's my pokey thing? Oh, there it is. Oh, what a mess. There's cat hairs everywhere. So I'm just going to put some glue on the inside of that hinge there. And I'm going to stick that together. Okay, so that's my first hinge stuck together. All right, and now I'm going to go along and I'm going to do that with each of the others as well. So take off that double-sided tape, some glue inside the hinge, and then glue that hinge together. Okay, so now I've got 2 hinges glued together. Okay. And so on and so forth until we've got our 4 hinges. Okay, now to help glue it down and also to help burnish it, I'm going to get my bone folder and I'm just going to make sure that each of those hinges lies flat. Right, so what I've got here now is I've got my 4 hinges glued together and my 3 gussets, and then that's what it looks like on the back. Okay, so that's how we make our hinges for the binding. Okay, we're happy with that? So they're now all stuck together really tight. And I've got my binding ready to go. Okay. How are we doing? Nobody's saying anything, which makes me think that you're all working really, really hard at this. Lots of concentrating. Yeah. Okay. Right. Now, we're nearly done for tonight, but what we can do in anticipation of next week is we can actually attach this to our book now. Yeah. So I'm going to grab my book, which, like I said, is a bit warped, but that's fine. I'm cool with that. And what I want to do is I want to work out where the middle of my spine is. So I'm going to grab a pencil. Let's have a look. Oh, grab a pencil, and I'm going to measure where half of my spine is, where the middle of my spine is. So if it's 1.5 inches, it's going to be 3/4 of an inch. Am I right? I'm just going to make a little pencil mark so that I know where the middle of my spine is, because this will help me put my spine on straight. I mean my hinges on straight. So 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I've just marked with a pencil where that is. Right, when we come to put our spine on, because we've got 4 hinges, that in between, that middle gusset is going to be the middle of my spine. So that has to line up where those 2 marks are. Yep, to make it straight. Okay, so the way that I do this, because this is the bit that we absolutely have to get right. If we don't get this glued down properly, our book will not work. Okay, this is so important. So I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided tape on the back of my hinges. I don't know why I work with white card, because it just gets filthy. And it's me every time. Okay, and I'm going to get my glue, and I am going to put plenty, oh, if it'll come out. Plenty of glue on the back of my hinges. Okay, really important that you get plenty of glue on this middle bit where the hinges all meet together, because that is where there's going to be the most sort of wear and tear on the pages. Okay, so there's plenty of glue on there. Don't skimp this bit. This is not the place to skimp. Make sure there's plenty on your hinges. Okay, right, now this is the fun bit. I might have to stand up and do this, so if you get the back of my head, I apologise profusely. And now what I want to do is make sure that my spine is centred, my hinges are centred top to bottom. And left to right. Okay, so let's just stick that down. Okay, now it is really important that your gussets are stuck really firmly down to your spine. So you can use your fingers, you can use your bone folder, but you've just got to make sure that that is stuck really well. And I would say that over the next hour or so, while it's drying, keep going back every so often and just give oh God, give your gusset a good rub with your finger, ladies. That's all I'm going to say. Can't believe I said that out loud. every time. Because if we don't get this stuck well down to our spine, the whole thing will fall to pieces. So, doesn't look much at the moment. It doesn't look the most prettiest of things, but it so will. Okay, so can you see what I've done there? I've got it centered with the middle of my hinge, which was in the middle of the middle gusset. That's lined up with those two pencil marks I made, and it's centered top to bottom, so there is a bit of a gap at the top and the bottom. This isn't like the office hours books that we made. What are you? Thank you, dear. Are you fingering my gun? No, no, don't. Do not say it. Anyway, make sure it's stuck down well. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Right. Do not fold it under any circumstances. Do not fold it. I'm going to leave you to not fold that for a whole week. And I know that's mean, but that's what you're going to do. Because you want your books to be ace. Okay, right. That, I think... I know, Liz. I'm glad you said it because I didn't want to say it out loud. Anyway. Oh. Yeah. Michelle, don't tell him about the big boner, because you can, of course, use your big boner to burnish your gusset, which let's hope isn't too sticky because you put too much glue on it. And on that note, ladies, that's it for tonight. So let's leave this for a week. Do not fold it under any circumstances. And next week we'll come back and we will start on our pages. So thank you ever so much for joining us tonight. Sticky gussets aside, and don't forget, tomorrow night we are in For the Love of Pretty Paper group, making our big, well, we're going to do a little accordion book tomorrow, so something dead simple. So we will see you back here 7:30 next Wednesday. Thank you for joining me, and I'm going to go off and laugh in a corner now because I can't believe I've actually managed to keep a straight face. So thanks guys, take care, and we'll see you